Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We are presented by The Athletic. Today on the show, Andrew Schlecht is back in the building.
Yes.
So you know we're going to talk about Poku and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But first, we're going to talk MVP race. We're going to talk about what the hell the Lakers should do. This whole thing seems like a total disaster right now. And then we'll get to Oklahoma City and Poku Corner at the end. I had to get a primary source in for Poku Corner this week because Poku is turning the corner. You see what I did there, Andrew?
That's right. We could do an hour on Poku if you want. Maybe we'll save that for later. We need some more Poku content, but one of these days we'll have an hour-long Poku pod.
Look, Poku is not yet in the MVP race, but he's in the MVP race of our hearts. Right. We should instead rather talk about the guys who are actually in the MVP race to begin this episode. So my idea was just to do like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and just kind of run through everything that's happening so far at the top of the league in terms of guys that are legitimately in this race for MVP, because I can't remember a better start in terms of like on-court product to a basketball season than what we've seen this year. First of all, league-wide, like the teams that are at the bottom of the league are super fun and enjoyable. Like there's something that I can pick out of every single game on a night-to-night basis and just be like, this is great. I'm going to sit down and watch this.
Yeah.
But more than that, I mean, we have Luka, who up until last night, had scored 30 points in every single game so far and was averaging 36. Like Giannis has been unbelievable to start the year. It's just such a great start to a basketball season. Andrew, let's just start there. How much have you enjoyed this basketball season so far?
It's been unbelievable. I host one night a week a show called The Daily Ding on the Athletic NBA show feed, and it's overwhelming to sit down and watch the league right now because you're flipping through League Pass. You're like, oh, I really want to talk about this game. No, I want to talk about this game. You can't talk about all the games. You can't watch all the games. And so you have to like pick and choose. And like while I'm sitting and watching a game, I like see a stat from another game. Like, oh, we probably should be watching that one. Like there's just so much good basketball. And that's why I have hated, and I don't want to spend more than 10 seconds on this. All of like the Brooklyn Nets BS that's been happening.
Yeah.
It's just been like, no, like please stop. The basketball is good enough. Can we just let's focus on that? Because there's so much good basketball from every single team, even the teams that stink, like the Thunder, the Magic, the Rockets, those teams stink. But when we're talking about like players that interest you, there's a ton on every single team. Like, oh yeah, there's really good players on all of those teams, and they're all worth watching.
Yeah, like the Rockets are the best example of that. The Rockets are a mess. Like I've talked about this like earlier this week, I feel like on the podcast, we did an actual deep dive last week on it with Mark Schindler, but like they're a mess. Like they are not a good basketball team. They're still super fun to watch.
They're still thrilling. They still have KJ Martin. Shouts to KJ Martin because they have a lot of other guys, but KJ Martin has like been legit this year. I'm a big fan of him.
You've KJ Martin, you have Tari Eason, smoking 2 layups and then like getting a steal in between to try and get 2 transition layups, right? Yeah. Like you have Jalen Green trying to figure things out.
Really good. Yeah.
You have Kevin Porter, who signed a new contract, but is still in a contract year because of the way that contract is signed and structured. It seems like
it's the correct way to handle a contract extension with KPJ. It just is.
It's just the best. So like when that team, and then with Orlando, with like the weirdness that is Bol, and then obviously Paulo being incredibly exciting. And then the Oklahoma City Thunder with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander putting on a superhero cape every night and Poku being Poku. Like you can run through all of these teams, the Pistons with Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. It's just so fun, but we're spending time talking about the bottom of the league, and the whole idea is to talk about the top of the league here.
Let's do it.
And I think I think if I was awarding MVP right now, I think Giannis is the best player on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would still give MVP to Luka, given the way that the Mavericks have started this season.
Yeah.
I know that the Bucks have the best record in the league. Giannis has been a superhuman and a cyborg all rolled into one, but I can't get past like the Michael Jordan act that Luka Doncic is putting together so far.
Yeah, he's 34.8, 8 and 8. He's almost 50% from the field. He's shooting 70% in the restricted area this year. It's just absurd. 51 of 81 in the restricted area this year. He's number 1 in free throw attempts in the league. The Mavs are a plus 5.2 when he's on the court. 43% usage rate is where it's just, I mean, I don't even know what to do with that. And I look at it, and some years we've had stuff like this with James Harden. We've had some stuff like this with Russell Westbrook, and you can look at the team and say, well, like Victor Oladipo should probably have the ball a little bit more, like things. But you look at it, you're like, yeah, it's correct. Like that's the correct number for Luka Doncic. He's that good. He's first in win shares, first in box score plus minus, first in VORP, first in assist percentage in the league. He's the guy. Like if we're talking about the most valuable player, the player that brings the most value, however you want to define value, like it's been Luka. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay, so I just want to compare Luka Doncic at 23 years old to Michael Jordan at 23 years old. This was Luka's 5th year. This is Luka's 5th year. This was Michael Jordan's 3rd year.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan's 3rd year is like, honestly, like there's a real case that he peaked offensively in his 3rd year.
Yeah.
Like it was that mix of just like unbelievable athleticism, like just superhuman athleticism, getting to the foul line at an ungodly rate, defensive ability just off the charts. So Michael Jordan played every game that year, played 40 minutes per game, 37 points on 11.9 free throws per game, 48% from the field, 85% from the line, had a true shooting percentage that was 6 points better than league average, or no, I'm sorry, 4 points better than league average. Free throw percentage, 12% better than league average. Luka Doncic right now, 35 points per game, 49.8 field goal percentage, getting to the line 11.2 times per game in 37 minutes per night. The 8 rebounds and 8 assists, which is a little bit different than what Jordan did. Mm-hmm. But in terms of scoring, 6% better than, or 6 percentage points above league average in terms of true shooting percentage, right around league average in terms of free throw percentage. This is like a genuine comparison. Yeah. Right now.
And Luka's leaving stuff on the table because he's not shooting the 3 ball well yet.
Yes. Right. Like, and they're both like mid-range assassins that lived at the foul line at this point. Like, look, you couldn't find 2 players that do it differently aesthetically than Luka Doncic and Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. But like the end results here are pretty similar through this early stage of the season. And we'll see if Luka continues this. We're through 12 games or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, this is where we're at with Luka. Like these are the comparison points that are genuine and real, and we need to discuss him as such. And because of that, he is carrying the Dallas Mavericks, who are only 10 games through their season, into a real, potential playoff berth when this team around him is just not very good.
Yeah. I mean, they've gathered together some good 3-and-D players, which you need. They definitely are missing a Jalen Brunson type of player. Like they need another ball handler if they're going to have success in the playoffs. This is super fun in the regular season. Like Dinwiddie shooting great from the corner, hadn't taken a ton of attempts. Josh Green is a story that I don't hear a lot. Great on defense, 53% from the corners this year. He's been legitimately very good for them. And a guy that a year ago, I sat down with Tim Cato in Oklahoma City. And we were talking about what a waste of a draft pick Josh Green was. And we're discussing all the other players they could have had. And Josh Green last year in OKC when he played was very bad. It was just a bad player. Yeah. And this year he is different. He's changed. So like credit to the Mavericks and to Josh Green for developing. And Luka is learning how to use him. And then Dorian Finney-Smith is awesome. He's 44% for the corners. THJ is back. He's 38% for the corners. Having those players, that's great. Like you need those guys, but they're missing somebody. And maybe Jalen Brunson ultimately wasn't going to be the right guy to be there. And so maybe they made the right choice. We have to remember Luka's 23. He's not 26. He's not 27. Like we are still in pre-prime age and he's doing this. So we're still pretty far away from like the best version of Luka Doncic if all things work out. And maybe the Mavs are doing the right thing by letting Luka just do this for a year, and maybe they do find the right running mate for him later on. It's just right now people look at it and say, well, they're kind of wasting some years with Luka, but I don't know. This is kind of fun for me. I kind of like watching him using almost all their possessions. I kind of love it.
I'm having an absolute blast. Well, like
Yeah.
watching Luka. I hate watching the team. Like I don't love watching the Mavericks, to be honest. But I love watching Luka. He's incredibly
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
The other guy that's having like peak year so far is Giannis.
Yeah.
Giannis is at 32 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. He's just like a world destroyer. There's not really another way to describe it. Like he's so physically imposing. He's the most dominant player in the league. And then on top of it, he's one of the best defenders in the world. Like you can parse through Draymond Green, Bam Adebayo, Giannis, OG Anunoby, I think has been phenomenal to start the year.
Sure.
Like a number of guys you can parse through. Giannis is on the list in terms of the best defenders in the world. Rudy Gobert, I don't want angry Utah fans that are still Gobert fans to yell at me about the Gobert era in Utah. But it's just remarkable how he keeps getting better. Like he's continuing to add little mid-range game. Like he's continuing to figure out little tricks of the trade to be able to get to his spots. Like he's phenomenal. He is to me, there is a clear top 2 in MVP, and it's Luka and Giannis. I think there's a clear number 3. I think that I would have a clear number 4, but I'd be willing to hear arguments. And then the rest of it is kind of all over the place. But those 2 at the top are the order 1 and 2 in some order, I think, so far.
Yeah, I think Luka, just his individual dominance and just the way that the Bucks have dominated without Chris Middleton there. Yeah, they definitely miss him offensively. Their offense is clunky at times, but the way that their defense has performed and they just get enough offense, they're absolutely dominant. And I've seen the Bucks play twice without Giannis, and the defense that's in place with the Bucks already is just like outrageous. But Brook Lopez looks like Brook Lopez from 5 years ago on defense.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's been unreal. But Giannis, he's shooting 77% in the restricted area so far this season. He shot 105 shots in the restricted area this year. It's second only to Zion, who Will Guillory described as like an expert dart thrower when it comes to his his shot chart. I think he's unstoppable. I think that we are now starting to see prime Giannis, which is scary for the NBA because I think he's far and away the best player in the league, and he doesn't even have a jumper yet. Like I still think it's a work in progress. He's 26% on his mid-range jumpers this year. That would be that's 26%. That's the worst of anybody that's taken 30 or more mid-range jumpers this year. So like he's still working on that.
Them. Like that's the thing. Like
I love it. Like they're 10-1.
Yeah.
And he can figure out his game while being 10-1. Like that's what's terrifying is that the Bucks are that good that he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to try to figure this out. You guys do your thing. I'm going to take 3 or 4 mid-range shots a game and try to get this polished. And then by the time I'm 28, no one can stop me.
I thought this was a really interesting question that someone posed on Twitter. Who do you think does the best job of guarding Giannis in the NBA?
Oh man. You know,
it's like an impossible job. Impossible job.
No, it's impossible. You have to have length and athleticism to do it. You know who did a great job the other night was Onyeka Okongwu. Was
honestly that's like a top 5 answer. Yes. Yeah.
He was so good the other night on Giannis just because he brings like this ferocity to the game that not many guys do.
Yeah.
And in like this like really rangy but athletic like body, and most guys try to meet him at the rim with somebody big who's a little bit slower. And so Okongwu is not as big, but he kind of brings that.
You need I think that the thing more than anything you need is the strength and the ability to withstand contact. Like the
Can you take a
ability to
hammer
like,
to the face 100
yes,
times a game?
can you take a Steven Adams kick to the balls
Yeah.
and stand?
Yeah.
Like that is it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Onyeka does a really good job. I think Bam Adebayo does a good job,
Mm-hmm.
like for as good as someone can do.
Yeah.
Um,
Rob Williams,
it's hard.
whenever he's healthy, does a pretty
Rob
good job.
Williams does a pretty good job. Yeah, they like do such a good job of like swarming him a lot of the time.
That's what you have to do. It's not you
Yeah,
can if you're
totally.
trying to do it one-on-one, you're toast.
Yeah, 100%. Those are the guys that like immediately jump off the page to me, though.
Yeah.
Like Pascal Siakam, like God love him, like they try and run that out sometimes. And like you would think Pascal works, but he's just like a little bit too thin to do it. Like OG isn't quite big enough, it feels like. He has a chance to be big enough, like maybe next year. And he's looked really, really good defensively. Like he honestly, like I think that Brook Lopez and OG Anunoby so far and Giannis would probably be my 3 defensive player of the year guys right now.
Yeah, for me it's
if you
Brook.
made me pick. Yeah.
Brook he's outrageous, man. Like we did so for Saturday Slam and Jam, we did the wheel of fandom landed on the Bucks for last week, and I just watched a bunch of Bucks and read all about it, and it's like, man, like Giannis kind of has it made a little bit with this team defensively because he can literally roam and do whatever he wants or whatever he sees fit, and he usually does the right thing because they have this ready-made defensive like skeleton that's just already there. And it's just like,
you know what the
you can
crazy
just go do your thing, Giannis. Yeah.
That's almost why I thought that like his best defensive year was last year when Brook was out for 70 games or whatever. And 100%. He had to like hold their defense up on his shoulders like he is Atlas. And he did it. And he was like their primary rim protector. It was unbelievable, I thought, what he did defensively last year. But let's move on to the guy that I think is clearly number 3. And then we'll talk about some of the other players that have been incredible to start the year. I think Jayson Tatum would be very clearly number 3 right now.
Yeah.
All due respect to Donovan Mitchell, John Morant, Damian Lillard is another really, really good example. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been great so far this year. He'd be in my top 10. I don't know if I'd have him in top 5 necessarily, but like there's a lot of guys that you can point to. Devin Booker, whoever, right? Jayson Tatum, I think, would clearly be number 3 right now. He is averaging 31, 7, and 4 on 50, 38, 88. He's carrying every lineup that he's in right now. Jaylen Brown's been great, but like the level to which Jayson Tatum is like a different beast when he's out there for the Boston Celtics is just so real. Like he's generating pull-up 3-pointers at a rate that we haven't seen previously from him. He is dominating the game on both ends of the court. I think he's been really, really good defensively, taking another step forward there. This is the best offense in the league so far, along with Dallas. It's just a remarkable start from Jayson Tatum.
Yeah. It's 24 too. Just like, how is this guy 24? You watch the way that the game has slowed down for him this year and the way that he surveys the floor and he's finding his teammates. It really is different. Like there's something different about him. You can tell that he was really focused in the offseason on just becoming a better basketball player. Not that he needed to become like a much better basketball player, but he did. Like he did that. And go ahead.
Yeah, like you bring up like the patience almost, right? Like it's the patience to like kind of hold his ground in the mid-range and like keep his dribble alive. The other thing that has really helped, it's definitely helped his passing. 100% agree with you. It's helped his ability to get to the foul line. He's averaging 9 free throw attempts per game. If you remember when Tatum came into the league, like part of the issue was, like can he actually get consistent penetration, or is he gonna have to live off of these like catch and shoot 3-pointers and mid-range, gunner type shots? But now, because he's strong and has those enormous shoulders and can hold his ground and is very patient, he has that ability to just like get defenders just slightly off their balance and slightly off their axis and then go up and draw a foul.
Yeah, he's 5th in free throw attempts. Total free throw attempts in the league this year, which like that's the sign of a star. The guys who get to the line, those are the stars. And Tatum is one of the best in the league. He's been great. my biggest knock on him is that stupid Karl Malone dunk. Like, don't do that, bro. I don't like that. That's not cool.
We don't like Karl Malone on this podcast.
Don't remind me of Karl Malone. You remind me of Karl Malone, you're out of the top level of MVP. That's why he's been knocked down.
I also like Karl Malone. Like, wasn't even like a cool.
He's
like,
not
dunker.
cool. Yes. Why would you do that? That's what I don't get. Like, shout out to Karl Malone. Why are you giving a shout out to Karl Malone in 2022, Jayson Tatum? Like, give me the D Brown. Give me something else. Don't do that.
Yeah, we don't got to do that. Jayson Tatum has been incredible this year. I've seen some MVP lists that like don't have him in the top 5, and I'm just like, what are we doing?
31, 7, and 4 is enough to get you on the top 5 list. I mean, it's insane what he's done so far this season.
For the second best team in the East, like third best team in the league. It's very clear. Who is I guess the guy that comes up next to me, I would have Donovan Mitchell at 4 right now. Yeah. Would he be like clear for you at 4?
He's been awesome. I don't know what it is about. I just love Ja. And I think what he's done with this team, and they're younger this year, and he's having to carry a little bit more of the load, and he can't rely on some of the other vets that were going to be out there with him like they were last year. And he's still carrying this team. They're 8-4. He's 28, 5 and 7, 48, 45 from 3 and 80% from the line. The Grizzlies are plus 15 when he's on the court. Yeah. Of all the guys that we're talking about, nobody else has a number that high. Yeah. So like that really stuck out to me, and just how relentless he is. And I watch all the Thunder games, and I watch all of Shai, and like switching over to watching Ja is just like it's watching a different sport almost. Just the way that those guys play is unbelievable. He's so explosive. Like Shai is like, I'm gonna slither around and like make space that isn't there, and Ja is, I'm going to bulldoze you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And
but it's like it's not like Giannis bulldozer. It's like this incredibly like balletically explosive bulldozer.
Yeah.
I don't know how to really describe it.
It's a lot of hair. There's a lot of hair this year, a whole lot of hair. And I like it. I like it a lot.
I do too. Ja would be 6 for me right now. Okay. And he's like kind of right in this tier. Mm-hmm. I had Donovan at 4. I think Donovan has just been so remarkable to start the year in terms of his scoring efficiency. He's averaging 32 on 51, 45, 86. He's taken really, really well to playing with Darius Garland. He has carried the team in the 6 games that Darius Garland has missed. He has been his ability to kind of transition into playing both on and off ball at times has been just such a critical cog for the Cleveland Cavaliers at this point. Yep. But like most of the time he's on the ball and he's just absolutely fucking dominating. Like there's just not another way to put it.
Killing it. He's got great teammates, and they certainly are helping him, especially with screening and stuff like that. But he still takes some pretty friggin' difficult shots out of ISO. Totally. And he's 1.25 points per possession in isolation so far this season, which is just absurd. And then as a pick and roll ball handler, 1.13 points per possession, which is pretty nuts. I mean, he's been really, really good for the Cavs. It's been great to see, just because he, a lot of people were like, I don't know if it's worth it for the Knicks to trade for Donovan Mitchell. And like, if you're watching this guy, like, it'd probably be worth it for the Knicks to have a guy like this. He's pretty good.
Yeah. I was like a little bit questionable on that.
Mm-hmm.
I have some regrets on those takes.
Yeah. He's been unbelievable. And I don't know if just some of it could just be like he's having a really hot start and he's going to cool off a little bit. And then some of it could just be that, man, we all know as people, when you're not in the best situation for you, like mentally, you can't be the best version of yourself. And there was a lot of that going on in Utah last year. And getting to a new situation that feels fresh, those guys love playing for their coach. They love playing for each other. It's evident. And that's really, I mean, honestly, it's just these human things that happen to NBA players that we don't really consider. Like that could be why this boost is here. But man, just looking at like the raw numbers of some of these guys, like we haven't even talked about Devin Booker, who's 27, 4 and 5, and
Yeah.
You know, the same patience stuff that we talked about with Tatum is there with Booker too, and he's been outrageous. And like Jokic, who we won't probably give much time to just because his numbers just aren't as eye popping as they were last year, at least so far. Like he's like the ultimate guy of
He has
like your
somehow had
definition of
like,
patience.
yeah, like he has somehow had more highlight level moments playing with like Jamal and Michael again,
Yeah.
but has been less like dominant, I guess it feels like, maybe is the way to put it.
He like
Yeah.
almost doesn't have to. I watched him in OKC a few weeks ago, and he like at halftime he took one shot.
Yeah.
And like
And let me be
they're
clear
just
here.
killing people.
Nikola Jokic is averaging 21, 10, and 9
Yeah.
to start the year. Like
That's
he's
pretty
been
good.
unbelievable. He's shooting 60% from the field, 88% from the line on 6 free throw attempts per game. Like he's been great.
He's unbelievable. Yeah.
He is definitely a top 10 MVP candidate.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if he's quite in the ballpark of some of these other guys just because of how good the other guys have been.
Yeah.
The last guy that I feel like we have to bring up is the guy I would have at 5, which is Damian Lillard. His just sheer presence has completely altered this Portland Trail Blazers team. Yeah, he's averaging like 29 points per game, and you know he's been phenomenal across the board. 40% from 3 on 10 3-point attempts per game, 48% from the field. Like there's just 66 true shooting percentage. Like his true shooting percentage is 16% better than league average right now, which is just absolutely bonkers. Just completely crazy. Completely crazy.
Yeah. In ISO, he's 1.39 points per possession, which is that makes no sense. Like you shouldn't be able to do that out of isolation. Like you just give it to Dame every time. And the difference that he's made with this team, like you said, just culturally and what they've built, there were way more skeptics than believers, even in Portland. You know, people that covered the team are like, yeah, maybe they make the play-in. You know, and maybe that still could be the case, but they're 8-3 so far, and they've played some tough teams. They beat Phoenix twice. Phoenix is good. You know, this is a good Blazers team that looks well coached. They play great defense. They play the right way offensively, and you know, Dame is the reason why. And Dame could have probably played through a little bit more of this injury stuff that he's dealt with, and he's taking a slower approach to it, which I think is the right thing. Like there's just some like more maturity happening with this team that I think will pay dividends, you know, in April and May, hopefully.
Yeah. Let's take a quick commercial break and then we're going to jump into the Lakers because, oh boy. Okay, Andrew, we're back. We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers now. The Lakers are 2-9.
Yeah.
They have the worst offense in the league, not by an insubstantial margin. They also have fallen to 18th in defensive rating, which I think is actually like a critical number that I thought Jason Timpf over at the Volume Network that Colin Cowherd has did a really good job kind of explaining what seems to be happening, where like it feels like they know that they have to play so fucking hard defensively every single moment of the game. And it's just hard to do that. And you get demoralized and like, you know, you watch Anthony Davis and it's hard to defend for 48 minutes a night when like you're the guy that is holding this entire thing up defensively. So the Lakers are in a really hard spot right now. LeBron James has a groin injury seemingly that he picked up against the Clippers last night. We'll see how long he's out. If he misses any time, it doesn't seem
it's
like
listed as day to day.
Clarity there. He was pretty clear. It seemed like this is not going to be a month-long injury or anything. Like he said it felt better than when he did it against the Warriors on Christmas Day a couple years ago. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Now, nothing else is a good sign here for the Lakers.
No.
I don't love the way that the offense really runs. Like, yeah, they don't have shooters, but like they don't really space the floor, take threes, so everyone just collapses down. They're not like an offense that overly takes care of the ball. Like they don't really. What they could theoretically try and do is just like bludgeon teams and try and like win the possession battle by crashing the offensive glass. They crash the offensive glass like very rarely. Like they're a bottom 5 team in offensive rebounding right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know what they do well on offense or what they have a chance to do well on offense.
Yeah, they don't. They're just old and slow, and they're relying on guys that are
not good enough.
10th, 11 guys that are like their 4th and 3rd best guy. I mean, this is just not a good basketball team, is what it comes down to. And it was going to be on the shoulders of LeBron and AD to be good enough, and that just hadn't been the case. And they cannot be lifted up by Pat Bev and Lonnie Walker and even Russell Westbrook accepting this bench role, which I think is a miracle unto itself. Like, that's great. Good job. It hadn't really translated to wins yet. And it is not looking good. I still think they're going to shoot the ball better. I just don't think they can be this bad. No NBA team has been this bad in, I don't know, a decade.
Years now, like 8 years. Yeah.
So they're unsustainably bad, but also where's the turnaround going to come from? Certainly LeBron, if he can get right, will shoot the ball better. I don't know that Russ can shoot much better than he has recently. And then there's AD, and what to do with AD.
So this is what I want to talk about. And Bill Simmons, who, I am an enormous fan of, and, I have you just won't hear me say anything negative about Bill at all.
Mm-hmm.
He floated the idea of an Anthony Davis potential deal, and Bill has been pretty connected on Lakers things like recently. Like, if you remember, he kind of brought up the idea of LeBron maybe investing in the Las Vegas franchise, 10 months before LeBron mentioned it at a press conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if, like, part of my thing that I said a couple of weeks ago was, if I was the Lakers, I would go for it. Like, I would be willing to move assets, because I think that if it doesn't work now, you can move Anthony Davis later and regain a bunch of those assets if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the biggest thing that they have to do is what I said at the time, is pick a direction.
Yeah.
Right. They need to pick a direction in terms of what they want to do moving forward. Do they want to try and compete for a title? If the answer is yes, then you have to move these picks.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to rebuild? If the answer is yes to that, and you don't want to compete, then frankly, you move LeBron and you have a very serious conversation about moving Anthony Davis, and you move everyone that you can.
Yep.
So, like, what you need to pick a direction. What they're doing right now is sitting in the middle, and that does nothing for anyone.
The middle is the worst place in every facet of the NBA. Doing something in the middle, bad.
And they're in the middle, but fucking suck. Like,
yep.
That's the thing. They're middling their decision-making process while being absolutely terrible on the court.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you absolutely cannot do. Rob Pelinka has been a disaster over the course, basically since they won their title.
Yeah.
This is almost like the most dumbfounding thing to me. Not moving Russell Westbrook for whatever you could do. And now being 11 games into this season, not really realizing after 5 games, when everyone on fucking planet Earth knew that this wasn't working, and moving forward in a better, more coherent way. We're past the point of waiting for 20 games, which is what the report was after the first couple of games this year.
Just going to wait until Thanksgiving to just see. I just want to see if this terrible roster will just suddenly transform into something else.
Well, and now we're starting to get pressure, right? Because Chris Haynes reported earlier today that LeBron James is not interested in wasting the 2022-23 season in hopes of reinforcements arriving for the Lakers during the offseason.
Yeah.
So we're going to start to
37.
feel
You
that.
shouldn't be interested in that,
Right.
by the way.
That's the other thing. Like, your timeline does not add up here. There is nothing that the Lakers are doing that makes sense. If you want to rebuild and move Anthony Davis, that's fine. Like, go for it. Like, I think that's smart. If you want to trade picks for reinforcements like Buddy Hield, Myles Turner, Eric Gordon, whatever you want to do, I think there's a case for that.
Yeah.
You can't do what you're doing right now.
No.
You cannot do what you're doing right now. This is the unforgivable sin, what they're doing right now. They have time to make up for it. It's 11 games into the season, but they can't keep doing this, because if the answer is that they want to compete, they're getting too far behind the 8 ball to really even do it.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. They can't sit on their hands. They have to decide like how important the end of this LeBron James era is to them. And from all accounts, like this is like the Lakers calling card, is that they like to keep their stars around like LeBron. I don't think they're going to trade him. I think ultimately they're going to fold to the LeBron pressure, and they're going to trade Westbrook and the 2 picks for some kind of Indiana package, or I don't know if they can get guys from Utah or whatever, if maybe that costs 1 pick, but they're going to have to do something. Like they just have to.
The deal I floated with Mark Schindler or Adam last week, I can't remember who, was you can theoretically do, if the Pacers are willing to do Myles Turner and Buddy Hield, you can also rope Eric Gordon into that deal very easily by just throwing Kendrick Nunn to Houston if you make it a 3-team deal.
Yeah.
And then send Russell Westbrook to Indiana.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Houston would very strongly consider taking a pick swap for Eric Gordon, like a pick swap and a second rounder for Eric Gordon or something like that. So like, could you do a pick swap for Eric Gordon? And then you're going to have to haggle with Indiana, right? But a team with Eric Gordon, Buddy Hield, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Myles Turner is a fucking good team.
Yeah.
That is a team that gives you a chance to compete every single night.
Yeah.
And I would do that. I'd be willing to do that if I was the Lakers, because I think that's a team that like could genuinely, if LeBron is like what we think he still can be, that gives you a chance to compete at the highest levels of the Eastern Conference, I think.
Yeah.
But you can't do what you're doing now. And this is where the idea of going the other direction comes into play. If you do decide to move some of these guys, the guy that you move is Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
I think that you let Russell Westbrook's contract expire and don't give up like extra assets to get off of that money, because you can get salary cap space this summer. What do we think Anthony Davis's value is league wide? Because that's a hard question, I think, to answer given the injury history.
Yeah. I think it comes down to like who's interested, like what teams immediately come to mind, because if it's not like 3 or 4 teams, then it's hard to say that he's just has a tremendous amount of value. Because if you're a team that's wanting to compete for you would presume that it would be a team wanting to compete for a title. Like a team that comes to mind is like Chicago. You know, like Chicago could use a big like AD to kind of fortify their defense, make them a little bit better offensively. Like I like that. They're the kind of team that's like, oh yeah, that's great. Or if the Wizards could cobble up a trade to where you can keep Porzingis and keep Beal and trade, I don't know, just a bunch of middling picks. I don't know. That doesn't work. But like that kind of team where it's like, we need a jolt. We need like a puncher's chance kind of team. Because like everybody else, I just don't know that I see it. Like Milwaukee, no. Cavs, no. From the Raptors, I wouldn't do it. Would you entertain it if you're Atlanta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Yeah. Because they have the money to be able to do it. They have the young players. The Chicago one is the one that like immediately stands out to me when you say it.
Yeah.
Doing something like Nikola Vucevic, who would have real value to the Lakers as an expiring contract and would allow them to kind of reset things very easily. Pat Williams, who has shown some real flashes over the course of the last couple of weeks and looks like a guy that could potentially be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Dalen Terry, that gets you there financially, and then whatever picks you have to add, right? So it's like Pat Williams, Dalen Terry, 3 first rounders, probably.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then the Vucevic deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually like a pretty reasonable offer to me for Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
And if you're the Bulls, you have Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. Hopefully you get back Lonzo. Alex Caruso is super valuable. Maybe you try and keep Ayo Dosunmu because Dosunmu is valuable to you right now.
Yeah, he's great. I'm a big fan. Yeah.
But like also Ayo is a guy that only has 1 year left on his contract. So the Lakers would then have to pay in the offseason. And don't know that you necessarily want to do that either.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's real value potentially keeping Dosunmu out of that deal on both sides.
No doubt.
So I guess that my idea here is Chicago makes a lot of sense. That team probably is like competing near the top of the East if you have Anthony Davis for Nikola Vucevic now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your defense is outstanding. I mean, Billy Donovan has proven in the past if he has the right pieces, he can coach a really high-level defense. Yeah. And Anthony Davis can do that. And then you have the scoring around him and DeRozan, LaVine, and I don't know what Lonzo's status is, but like that's a high-level defensive team that can compete. I don't know that they can win a title, but can they be a really tough out in the second round? Like, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. The other sleeping giant that always gets brought up in deals like this is Memphis. Memphis is consistently the organization where you're like, okay, like we can figure out a way to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
They have money that they can do to make this work. Like they have the Dylan Brooks expiring deal. They have Danny Green's expiring deal. Steven Adams is on 17 million. They just extended him and he has however much money left, but they also have all these young guys in Zaire Williams, Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia, David Roddy. I can't imagine that they would move Desmond Bane in a deal for Anthony Davis.
Heck no. No way. Not even straight up. Not even straight up. You don't do it. No.
Memphis has $1 billion picks that they could throw into a deal like this.
Yeah.
The key though for the Lakers, I think, is finding a situation that gives them expiring money and gives them a crazy amount of draft capital. I actually think that this is weirdly not a complicated deal to construct.
Yeah.
Because of that. Like the Lakers are trying to get as many draft picks as possible with the highest upside while also getting the most expiring money possible in a deal back.
Yeah.
Those deals tend to be pretty easy to construct in terms of structure, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think that this is like a fairly, if they decide to go down this road, it's not a difficult ask, I don't think.
Yeah.
Try and find the structure.
Is a Draymond Green for Anthony Davis swap with whatever, Kevon Looney or not Kevon Looney, Kuminga or Wiseman or whatever you had to do.
If you're moving Anthony Davis, why are you doing that? I guess is my thing. If you're moving Anthony Davis, you should be moving LeBron. That's my take.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
Because if you're moving AD, I mean, how do you figure out a way to make it work with LeBron? I mean, maybe your idea is like you get back all this expiring money, you get back all these assets that are young and like rising, and then you try and max someone out this summer. But like, I don't really see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the Warriors are interesting too. The Warriors are straddling the line with all these young guys, and either the young guys are going to have to get better and pretty quick, or they're going to have to make a decision, because they have struggled and they don't pass the vibes test either. And so I just wonder about them. I just wonder about that team. Draymond feels like he is expired milk sitting in their fridge that they need to get rid of. And I just wonder. I don't
know. I'm like such a fucking mark for Draymond Green. Like, I think he's been awesome to start the year.
I know, but I just think that it's felt like this for a couple years with the Warriors and him. Just like
But they still won a title last year.
I know they
even
did.
with it.
I know they did.
Like,
I have just had conversations with people that feel like this can't last forever. Like this can't last for much longer. And do they want to give Draymond that new contract? And I think we might reach a point of contention with that.
Yeah.
So I just wonder.
I get it. I don't disagree totally. I just, yeah. Look, if I was the Lakers, what I would be doing is I would be willing to move one first rounder and a second rounder and a pick swap to try and get Myles Turner, Buddy Hield, and Eric Gordon. Because I think that's like an eminently doable deal on some level.
And when did the Lakers start caring about picks?
There's that. And like, if you're Indiana, why do you think you're going to get a first rounder for Buddy and a first rounder for Myles by splitting the assets? Like, that's the reason that you don't do this. If you're,
I don't think you can get a good first rounder for Buddy. I don't think you can get. I think you have to take on the Westbrook money to get everything you want. I think you could probably get a good first rounder for Myles. I just don't think you could get a good first rounder for Buddy. I just don't think you could.
Like look around the league, I guess, and try and figure out like where is the spot that would pay a first round pick for Buddy Hield. Milwaukee, maybe. Like,
yeah, but it's going to be a limited first round pick. Like that's not going to be a high level first round pick. So like you might as well lottery protect that thing because it's you're not going to get a lottery pick from it.
No, no. There's no chance they get a lottery pick. So it's just like even trying to find a first, right?
A first. Oh, got you. Okay.
Like just even because like you're definitely because like the idea that the reason that you struggle with the Pacers deal, right, is the Pacers are asking for 2 first rounders, the 2017 or the 2027 and the 2029.
Yeah.
So like, in theory, for the Pacers to not do that offer, they have to have something else on the table that makes them think at some point they can split the assets into something else. So like, or you have to think that the Lakers 2027 or 2029 first round pick on its own is more valuable than anyone else. And I think there's probably a real case for that,
without a doubt,
given the way that this organization has been run.
Yeah.
But like, could you get a late first rounder from Milwaukee or something for Buddy Hield or, Philadelphia or whoever, right? I'm just like naming contending teams without really like thinking about it.
Yeah. Can you play Buddy Hield in the last 7 minutes of a playoff game?
The way that he's shooting right now, yes. If he shoots more like, the 38 to 40% guy that he typically is, it becomes more questionable, I think, and you would probably struggle with it.
Yeah.
And then like, here's the thing. Do you think you're getting a lottery first rounder for an expiring Myles Turner? No, you're not. I can answer that. So I do think that getting 1 first and like a couple of seconds from the Lakers, if that first rounder is unprotected in 2029 or whatever, I think that is probably their best course. And then I think if you're Houston, I don't think you're going to do better than like a potential pick swap with the Lakers in 2028 for Eric Gordon. But
I wonder how much Eric Gordon means to them, though, in terms of like, we need some adult in the room,
I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's doing much on. Look, he could be doing stuff behind the scenes.
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that. I don't know. Maybe there's room for the bottom to drop out if there's not somebody over there. I don't know. They've kept him for so long that you just kind of wonder. Because how long have we been talking about Eric Gordon trades? I
know.
So I just wonder. I don't know. I need to ask Kelly about this because like the Thunder, like there's going to be like Kenrich Williams rumors again with the Thunder this year. It's like, Kenrich Williams, like, he would really help a lot of teams. Kenrich Williams didn't go anywhere because he didn't want to go anywhere. If the Thunder are going to sit him for the rest of the season, like he doesn't care. I don't know what the situation is with Eric Gordon.
Yeah, like Kenrich loves Oklahoma and like is super happy there, right?
Loves it. Shout out to Lake Hefner. Loves Lake Hefner. I don't know.
So like it makes sense for them to keep building around Kenrich Williams, baby. And that brings us to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's talk
Oh,
about building around Kenrich Williams.
let's do it. Let's
I
talk
just
about this
love
Thunder
I,
team.
I love watching the Thunder because they are, and I've said this a couple times on the pod now when I've talked about them. They're just competent,
Yeah.
right? Like for a team that is as young as it is, as inexperienced as it is, as at times seemingly thrown together with young pieces as it is, Mark Daigneault does a very good job of having them execute at the highest level possible you could expect from a team that has multiple guys 23 and under on the court at once at all times.
Yeah, the defense has been pretty staggering because they don't have a rim protector at all. Our guy Poku is the closest thing to that, and I think teams are shooting like over 60% at the rim when Poku's there, so he's not much of a deterrent for others. But they just scrap. They play really hard. They have great point of attack defense with Lou Dort. If you don't play defense, you won't play. So Trey Mann, if he's not locked in on defense, Mark will pull him and he won't play him for the rest of the game. It's like, I'll find somebody else that will play.
And Trey's been good, like to start the year.
Yeah.
He hasn't shot like as well as what he can, but like if you look at any of the lineup data, like their best lineups have often been with Trey.
Yeah, the on-offs with Trey are very good. I think he's maybe second or third on the team.
And just having like that extra ball handler out there, that extra threat as a scorer has been really helpful.
Yeah, he was great last night in particular in the first half. He was on fire from three. He has like the ability to hit 4 or 5 threes in a quarter for you. I mean, he's a guy that I don't think many people know a ton about or have watched much of him, but just know one thing with Trey Mann. If he's got his hair braided, good Trey. Hair out of braids, bad Trey. That's one way to judge it. He just got his hair rebraided last night, scored 21 points last night. We got to talk about Shai because
I was gonna say like let's just do Shai Gilgeous-Alexander appreciation 5 minutes here because
he has taken a step and he is just so clearly the best player on this team and it's not anywhere close. I mean,
and you can see already that everyone around the league realizes it. And I saw a little report today from rival executives that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he might not be happy with the losing in Oklahoma City. Oh no.
Newsflash. Every NBA player hates losing, like Shai, of course Shai doesn't like losing. And I talked to a lot of people around the league and like people just don't know. A lot of people just don't know, especially his situation, especially the
and I'm not taking shots at Sam Amick because Sam is the one
I would never ever take a shot at Sam Amick. I
love Sam unconditionally.
Guy. Yes, he's
like
great.
But when an executive tells you that, you probably have to write it on some level.
If it's on the record, put it out there, baby. Like
but like look, the Thunder are not going to move this guy. He's too good.
First year of a 5-year deal for Shai. He's just now showing that like, like he's actually a real all-star. Like he's really that guy. 31 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Then this is the wild thing. Almost 2 steals per game and 1.5 blocks per game. I mean, this is
but do you think he's defending well is the question.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. I was going to say he's been much better than what I have seen previously.
So,
because like, look, I'm a big proponent of the idea that like steal and block numbers are often just so drastically overrated, right? Like they take up, so he has 3.6 stocks per game, right? 3.6 stocks is like 4% of possessions per game, right?
Yeah.
So what is he doing on the other 96% of possessions? I agree with you though. He's been better this year for sure.
Yeah. I mean, just an example, like he took the assignment of guarding Franz Wagner in the clutch the other night against Orlando and like took him out of the game. I mean, he knew the right shoulder to be on whenever Franz was faced away from the basket and took that away from him and forced him to turn over the other shoulder. And he bricked a jumper because Shai knew where to be. And the effort that wasn't there in the last 2 years is there. And the way that, Mark Daigneault describes it is just like he's challenging himself. Like we'll definitely have conversations about it, but Shai wants to be great, and he knows that is his next step to being a great player, and he just honestly challenges himself to be that. And he's been that guy for the Thunder. He's honestly been probably their second best defender and just an outrageously productive offensive player. We talked about the free throw line. He's almost 95% at the free throw line this season. And he shot 70.
Getting there a ton.
Yeah, 77 or 73 of 77 this season. I mean, he's lived at the line in some games. He did that last night. He's a legitimate all-star. And if the Thunder were winning games, he would probably be somebody that we would, if he plays like this, would talk about for all NBA. Like, I don't know that he gets there unless, I mean, maybe if the Thunder win like 35 games or something like that, we could get into the all NBA talk, but I don't know that they'll do that.
If he is, if he does this the whole year, I think, if he does this the whole year, 32 points, 5 and 5 and unbelievable.
Yeah.
Then I think he probably makes all NBA.
Yeah. And that was something that seemed like a pipe dream even last year for people that watched him night after night. I mean, he's better. And he's not shooting threes. He's basically stopped shooting threes. He's like only taking mid-range shots and shots at the rim. And he's been absolutely on fire so far this season. I mean, he's been one of the best mid-range jump shooters in the league by far. It's been very fun watching him do what he does because he's so unconventional in the way that he approaches the game. He's very steady. His deceleration game is just like, he just freezes some guys. He took like this, he did this slow Euro step the other day.
Yeah.
Where the defender just like didn't know what to do. It looked like I had my phone on him and I hit the slow-mo like on video. And he just like slow-mo did this like Euro step where you're just like, what are you? I don't know this is possible.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like the incredible, insane like body mechanics to slither like with his footwork and his upper body. Like some guys are good at like footwork and being able to maneuver around guys with their feet. Some guys are really good with their upper body at being able to contort their body in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Shai is good at both.
Yep.
And like contorts his body on the ground to slither through guys like he's a snake, like around, defenders and like flying through like cones that are right next to each other. It's the most egregious metaphor I've ever given on this podcast, but like it's just really good. And there's nothing like watching Shai in the NBA right now. Not to say he's the best player in the league or anything, but like, he's so unlike anything else in the league.
Yeah, he leads the league in drives per game and is just relentless. And he's also extremely unselfish, almost to a fault at times, because, and this is the thing where people say like, oh, Shai is like so tired of the losing. Shai is doing what he can to help his teammates develop too. And he recognizes and acknowledges that he needs to develop as well. Like when I ask him about the development of other players or the development of the team around him, he always says, that's me too. Like I'm still developing. Like I'm still trying to get better. He doesn't think like, oh my gosh, like how can I win with these guys? Like this is crazy. I threw out to Lou Dort and Poku and they airballed 5 threes in the last 4 minutes. Like this is insane. He recognizes that like this is a process for me and for these guys. He trusts his teammates, whether the results work out or not. Like he's very process oriented too, which is like a very Thunder thing. Like you ask Mark Daigneault anything about the results of shooting, and he's like, well, like that's getting wrapped up in the results. He's like, and I'm not getting wrapped up in the results of shots or this or that. Like, is the process right? And that's Shai is like, as much as he can be like engrossed into like into the Thunder culture. And I don't think that he's wanting to eject from that at all. And like there's also like the idea that the Thunder are doing wrong by Shai by not building around him now. But it's like not recognizing how young he is. He's still 24. And I mean, I just look at Utah and what they did to try to build around Donovan Mitchell. And they went and got all these players and they tried to build around him and they brought in these older guys that were ready to win now, all these win now players. Well, a lot of those win now guys are like out of their prime and into like the latter half of their NBA career, and Mike Conley and Boyan and all these guys. And he's like, well, now I'm ready. Like now it's time for me to win. And now I'm looking around and it's either guys that are past their prime or it's Rudy Gobert who is like annoyed with me all the time. So like, I'm out of here. Like, get me out of here. Please get me out of here.
And now they have Chet in Oklahoma City, and now they have
like, and now the
Josh
Thunder are
and Trey.
Yes,
and,
when you look now, whenever and Shai, when he gets to 25, 26, he will be looking around saying, "Okay, now I have guys that are ready to compete with me now because now I'm in my prime. Now it's time to win." And so, like,
they now have the assets to go out and get more guys.
Exactly, they have multiple picks in 25 and 26 to go and actually get the guys that are ready to win now. Then, like that's the idea behind the Thunder rebuild. I know a ton of people have a lot of qualms with the way they're doing it. It may not work. I don't know that it's going to work, but this is the idea. Like this is the plan. It's like it's not let's build around this 24-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander today. It's hey, let's build around 26-year-old Shai and 24 or 23-year-old Chet and 22-year-old Giddy, and like let's build around those guys, not around 19-year-old Giddy and 24-year-old Shai and 20-year-old Chet who's in a boot right now. Like we're not building around those guys. We're building around those guys whenever they're all in their overlapping primes. Like that's the idea.
Okay, last thing. Poku Corner. Explain for the people why I am not crazy for my enjoyment of Alexei Pokusevski. I'm not even going to talk Poku Corner. I just want Andrew to be able to explain why Poku Corner is a real thing and Pokuism should exist.
Yes. So before the season, I was asking Mark Degnault during training camp about like who stuck out this year, during camp, like who's vocal. Tell me who you've noticed. And first he brought up Jeremiah Robinson Earl, great guy, wonderful man. But then he said, and Poku. And I was just like, I was perplexed. And so I sat there for 5 minutes and then I said, hey, tell me about Poku. Because a year ago we sat in this room and you told me that the screws on Poku needed tightened. And now you're telling me that he's like one of like the leaders out there. So like, tell me about it. And then his first words were, and he actually interrupted me while I was restating my question. He said, the screws are tight on Poku. And so like, that was the first sign that things are getting real with Poku.
I just got chills, Andrew. And let's go.
He actually looks like a normal basketball player 80% of the time on the court now, which is a revelation. He has strung together several possessions that like 2 and 3 possessions that are actually good and normal in a row, which is just, I didn't even know was possible. Like he'll make a great defensive play and he'll go on the other end and he'll swish a corner three. He is back up above 40% from the field. That's a good thing. He's 33% from 3 and he's playing a lot of center this year, which ultimately probably not the best position for him. He's probably too skinny, but he's actually playing with some physicality, which was impossible for him last year and the year before. And if you, and very few people watch the Thunder, I get that. But this time last year, it was, oh no, we're 10 games in and Poku should probably go to the G League. Like he's not good enough to play NBA basketball. And this year, that's just not the case. He was one of the best players on the floor for the Thunder last night. And this game that they almost beat Milwaukee, he was great. And he is becoming a connector on offense, which I think is one of the biggest things. And it's not like he's getting assists, but like out of the short roll, he knows how to move it. He can survey the floor pretty well. And the game is slowing down for him some. He was 17, 10, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks last night. He's becoming like a real NBA player. I don't know how good he's going to be. I don't know it whenever the Thunder are actually ready to compete against real teams. Like, can Poku play in the playoffs? Like now, like probably not. But in 2 years, is Poku going to be able to compete in the playoffs? I think you can make the case that he can get there, because offensively he knows how to play, and he knows how to more importantly than knows how to play, he knows how to play the style of play the Thunder want to play.
Yeah, he actually like does have like a real processing brain.
Yes.
Like when he is just reacting to things, like he actually does things pretty well. It's more like the preordained decisions that he makes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I've texted you multiple times, I feel like it's the moments where like he pulls down his pants in the middle of the court and takes shit, and you're just like, wait, what happened here? But a lot of the time it's because of like preordained things that he decides in his head that he's going to do. Like I'm going to go in and I'm going to like take a trailer 3 this time, like regardless of what happens almost.
Mm-hmm.
Over his last 5 games, Poku has averaged 12 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, a steal, shot 48% from the field, 39% from 3. Yep. That is a normal NBA player.
Yep.
He is 20 years old and he like is incredibly skinny and has gotten way stronger and can actually do things. Like I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm along for the ride with Oklahoma City fans on Poku. This is a bit, but like it's not a bit. Like that's the thing.
It's becoming not a bit, and mostly because of the way that the people around the Thunder talk about him now. Because with teammates before, like I would talk to guys a lot preseason, like, you know, who looks good, who's playing well, and I would ask them specifically about Poku, his rookie season, and then last year. And like the tone is like, you know, he's pretty good. You know, he's still pretty good. You know, which just means like, yeah, he's not ready at all. And like this year, the tone is like, oh yeah, like Poku's ready. Like he's improved. He's actually a lot better, and he's, you know, a lot stronger, which has mattered a lot. He doesn't look strong. I get that, but his base is a lot stronger than people would give him credit for. And he's done a really good job, you know, of getting stronger and improving just his overall awareness of the game. And I think that he could be at like peak. I think that he could be like a really high level role player that, you know, I think of if everything goes perfectly, like he could be like a Boris Diaw type player, like decision maker with the ball, can play from the big position, can probably like play some small ball 5 if you want him to, can do some really strange things for his size, like can play a little point here and there, but not a primary scorer, not a primary initiator, but just like a guy that's connecting your offense and is like good enough and smart enough on defense to make an impact.
Right. Okay, Andrew, let's get you out of here.
Let's do it.
Tell the people where they can find you. Tell the people what's going on.
If you want to listen to more talk about Poku and the Thunder, you can listen to my podcast called Down to Dunk. You can hear me on the Athletic NBA show on Monday nights for the Daily Ding. And then on Saturdays for the Saturday Slam and Jam, we are talking about the Pistons on this Saturday with James Edwards, who is just a fantastic writer here at the Athletic. So those are the places that you can find me. Lots of podcasts, lots of fun, but would love to have you guys listen to any of our shows.
Absolutely the best. Go subscribe to The Athletic. Go to Game Theory Podcast with Sam Facini at YouTube. Subscribe there. Rate, review, subscribe to this show on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcasting platform you use to listen to apps. We will be back later next week with more. Adam Spinella will be back on Sunday night going into Monday morning. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.